I want you to think about the first time you've ever walked into a gym or a yoga class or a dance studio or whatever it was you had decided to do for the first time that was awkward and uncomfortable and you didn't want to do. Remember how it felt? It definitely felt a little awkward. You're a little unsure of where to stand or what to do or what everyone else is thinking about you or if you're doing anything right or people watching you. And remember the first time you tried the routine, maybe in a class or a yoga class or a spin class? It wasn't clean, it wasn't smooth. You had to think about every single step. You had to concentrate just to get through it for the first time. But you kept showing up. And somewhere between the first rep and the 100th, something shifted. It stopped feeling like effort and it started feeling like yours. Building the life you want works exactly the same way. Here's the thing about the gym that nobody says out loud. Everyone wants the result, the strength, the energy, the confidence, the feeling of being fully alive and in your own body. I always say, you can't buy a body. You can buy a car, but you can't buy a body. But nobody wants the reps. Nobody wants the Tuesday morning when you are tired and the motivation is gone and you have 100 reasons not to show up and you show up anyway. Nobody wants the plateau, the week that nothing seems to change, even though you've been doing all the right things. Nobody wants the soreness of using muscles that have not been asked to work for a long time. But that is exactly what building looks like. Not the highlight reel, the reps. And here is what I've watched happen to brilliant, driven, exhausted people for over 20 years. They skip the gym bench. They sit on the park bench and they dream. They come to the workbench and they design. And then life gets loud and the kids need something and the client needs something and the inbox needs something. And the gym bench, the place where the dream actually gets built, stays empty. And this is why we wonder why things still say the same. And they wonder, like, why doesn't anything change? We have to do all three. The dream without the reps is just a wish. This video is about the reps. If this is your first time here at Bern's Bench, welcome. I am Bernadette Anderson. I'm a functional medicine practitioner, personal trainer, and your transformation bestie. And you walked in at the exact right moment. We have been on a journey through 3 benches. The park bench is where you stop, where you get still enough to hear yourself think, where you get honest about what you actually want, underneath all the noise and the obligation and the performance. The workbench is where you design, where you take what you found on the park bench and you lay it all out. You look at your tools, you clear the clutter, you draw out the blueprint. And the gym bench is where you do the reps. This is where the life you designed stops being a vision and starts being real. Think about what actually happens when someone starts a new training program. Day 1, everything hurts. Not because something is wrong, because something is finally right, because muscles that have been sitting dormant are being asked to wake up. Building a better version of your life feels exactly the same way. The new boundary you set feels uncomfortable for the first time. The morning practice you commit to is hard to protect in the first week. The conversation that you finally have that you've been avoiding for months, it is awkward. It's hard. It does not feel natural yet. That is not failure. That is the day one at the gym. And here is what every great trainer knows: you do not build strength in the rep you find easy. You build it in the rep you almost did not do. The one where everything in you said stop, and you did one more anyway. That rep, that is where the growth lives. Your life works the same way. The morning you almost did not get up early and you did it anyway. The meal you almost did not prepare and you did it anyway. The thing you needed to say that scared you and you said it anyway. Those are your reps. That is your training. And every single one of them is building the version of you that can carry what you designed at that workbench. I want to talk to the mom for a moment. You know, the one whose office is on the dining room table and whose lunch break is loading the dishwasher and whose commute is the 12 steps from the bedroom to the laptop. I see you. I know what it's like to be you. Your reps look different than everyone else's. And the fitness industry and the coaching industry and the wellness industry, almost none of it was designed for your life. It was designed for someone with a clean hour, like, with a gym membership and nobody needing anything from them. They can just check out while they do their work. This is not your life, and your reps are not going to look like that. And that's okay. Your rep is the 10 minutes before the house wakes up, when you sit with your journal and write one true thing. Your rep is the lunch you actually ate, sitting down without your phone before you feed anybody else. Your rep is the walk around the block that you almost did not take because there were 17 other things that you needed to do, and you took it anyway. Your rep is saying no to the one thing that was never yours to carry and feeling the discomfort of that boundary without running back to fix it. Those are your reps. Small, consistent, radically underestimated, and they are building something. Every single one of them. And to the entrepreneur that's in the office, the one who gets to work first and leaves last and somehow convinces themselves that this is what they call commitment, and this is what commitment looks like, I want to ask you something. If one of your kids were somebody you knew was an athlete and you had a team member or a client who was training 6 days a week and never resting and never recovering, pushing through every signal their body gave them, would you call that strength? Or would you call it overtraining? Because in the gym, overtraining does not produce strength. It produces injury. The muscle does not grow during the rep. It grows during the rest. The rest is not the weakness. The rest is the work. And your reps, the ones that are actually building the life you said you wanted, they require recovery. Your rep is in the meeting you end on time because your brain works better when it has a boundary. Your rep is the lunch outside instead of at your desk because your nervous system needs daylight, the same way your body needs water. Your rep is the hard conversation you have been avoiding that is costing you more energy to avoid than it would take to have that conversation. Your rep is leaving before you are done because done is just a moving target and your family is not. Those are your reps. They do not look like hustle, they look like wisdom. And wisdom, real earned lived wisdom, is the strongest thing in the room. When someone new comes into the gym, a real trainer does not hand them a plan and tell them, go figure it out. A real trainer starts with 4 things. The first one is desire. What do you actually want? Not the goals someone else set for you, not the body someone else has. What do you want in your gut when nobody is watching, when it's just you and the truth? The desire is your fuel. Without it, discipline is just punishment. Now we do need some discipline, right? Not the white knuckling kind of discipline, not the kind that comes from shame or fear of what happens if you stop. The kind that comes from wanting something more than you want to stay comfortable. The kind that shows up on the Tuesday morning when the motivation is gone because the commitment is still there. Discipline without desire is a cage. Discipline rooted in desire, that is freedom. The next thing we need is we need dedication. And this is the long game. Nobody gets strong in a week. Nobody builds the life they want in a month. Whew, wouldn't that be nice? Dedication is deciding before you see the results, before you feel the changes, before anyone else notices that you're in this. Not because it's easy, not because it's fast, because you are worth the compounded interest of that, of showing up for yourself every single day. And direction. This is probably one that most people miss. You can be disciplined and dedicated and work incredibly hard and still be building the wrong thing. If you do not have direction, direction is what the park bench gave you. Direction is what the workbench refined for you. Direction is the answer to the question, what am I actually training for? Not someone else's answer, yours. Desire, discipline, dedication, and direction. The 4 things. One gym bench, the foundation of everything. Now, real quickly, I want to talk to you about the plateau because every person who has ever trained for anything knows what it feels like. You've been doing the work, you've been showing up, doing the reps, trusting the process. And then one week, nothing moves. The scale doesn't shift. The energy doesn't get any better. The relationship doesn't change. The revenue stays flat. And the voice in that little head of yours says, see, I told you, it's not working. You are not that kind of person, and it doesn't work for you. I want you to hear me very clearly. The plateau is not the absence of progress. It is the moment before the breakthrough. In psychology, we call this adaptation. The body is not failing, it's integrating, it's adapting. It is taking everything you have given it and building the infrastructure to hold the next level. Life works exactly the same way. The weeks where nothing seemed to shift are the weeks the foundation is being poured. You cannot see it from the outside, but something is happening underground. I always use that reference, the undercurrent of the ocean that you can't see. The only way to miss it is to stop before it breaks through. Most people quit on the rep before the breakthrough. Do not be most people. Think about the strongest version of yourself. Not the most successful, not the most productive, not the one who has it all figured out and never has a hard day. The strongest version of yourself. What does that look like? How does he or she move through a hard conversation? How does he or she respond when things go wrong? What does he or she say to? What does she protect? What does she no longer apologize for? I want you to know something. That version of you is not a future person. He or she is not waiting on the other side of a program or a course or the day that everything finally aligns, and the stars are all in perfect alignment. He or she is already there. He or she has already been there. You just need the reps, small reps, daily reps, the reps that nobody sees but you. The rep of choosing yourself before you have proof you are worth choosing. The rep of resting before you have permission. The rep of believing in the dream before the dream shows any evidence of being real. That is the training. That is what the gym bench is for. Not to make you into someone else, to make you into more of yourself. The park bench showed you who you are. The workbench gave you the blueprint. The gym bench is where you build it. One rep at a time. And before I close this video, I want you to write down the answer to this one question. What is one rep I can do today towards the life I've designed? Not a plan, not a big program, not a list of everything I need to do and change, just one simple change. One rep today. Small enough to be real, honest enough to matter, yours enough to stick. Write it down, then go do it. That is the gym bench. That is how it starts. 3 benches, one journey. The park bench is where you dream, the work bench is where you design, and the gym bench is where you do the reps. This is Bern's bench framework. And this is how we get the life that we want on our own terms. And if you're ready to stop watching from the sidelines and actually get on the bench, come find us. The free Bern's Bench community is in the description. Real people, real work, real conversations. No hustle, no performance required, just a bench and a little campfire and the reps. Subscribe if you have not subscribed, hit the like button, share this with people you love, and I will see you on the bench.